Imagine dropping $10,000 on a world-class wedding photographer. You spend months, finding the perfect lighting, the perfect venue, the perfect dress, and you were standing at the altar, the vows are beautiful, and you shed a single perfect tear. But to survive that emotional moment, you applied heavy waterproof mascara earlier that morning.
Oh gosh, I can already see where this is going.
Right. What you didn't know is that the chemical solvent in that waterproof mascara is actively dissolving the adhesive holding your newly applied eyelash extensions together. So by the time you reach the reception, that flawless aesthetic architecture you paid hundreds of dollars for is literally sliding down your face.
It is the ultimate nightmare scenario for event prep. And honestly, the most frustrating part is that it is entirely preventable, well, if you just understand the chemistry and mechanics of what you are actually putting on your body.
Exactly. Welcome to the deep dive. Whether you are deep in the trenches of planning your own wedding, or maybe you are the designated best friend acting as a crisis manager for a bride, or, you are simply fascinated by the highly technical mechanics of the modern beauty industry, we are thrilled you are here with us.
And today we are focusing on a piece of facial real estate that dictates almost every other beauty decision you make, which is your eyelashes.
The beauty industry has moved so far beyond simple topical cosmetics at this point.
Oh, totally. We are looking at high-stakes, semi-permanent aesthetic engineering. The decisions made here, they don't just wash off at the end of the night. They require weeks of commitment.
Our guide through this complex landscape today is a comprehensive brief from the bridal planning platform Weddizer. The document is simply titled lashlift.docs, but what it actually provides is a rigorous breakdown of a massive universal dilemma.
The classic lash lift and tint versus eyelash extensions.
Right. And the mission for our deep dive today is to cut through the marketing fluff, look at the biological and logistical reality of these treatments, and figure out how they behave under the intense pressure of a major event. Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can even begin to debate which option looks better captured in a glossy wedding album, we have to establish what these treatments physically do to your eyes.
Yeah, because terminology gets thrown around so casually online that people often treat a lift and an extension as, like, two flavors of the exact same service.
Which they aren't.
Not at all. Biologically speaking, they operate on completely opposite principles. One alters your existing biology, while the other introduces foreign architecture.
Reading through the Weddizer guide, a comparison immediately jumped out at me to help visualize this. Think about high-end hairstyling, right? A lash lift and tint is essentially like giving your own natural hair a professional blowout and a high-end gloss treatment.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's entirely 100% you.
Exactly. It's your raw material, just chemically optimized. Eyelash extensions, on the other hand, well, they're like getting a complex weave or high-end hair extensions sewn into your scalp.
Right, because you are physically attaching external material to achieve a volume or length that your own genetics simply cannot produce on their own.
So that blowout versus weave comparison perfectly isolates the difference in the methodology. Let's look at the actual chemistry of the lash lift and tint that's detailed in the source.
Yeah, so this is a two-phase chemical process. First, you have the lift. The technician applies a specialized perming solution right to the base of your natural lashes. And eyelash hair, like all hair on your body, gets its shape from disulfide bonds.
Disulfide bonds, okay. What exactly are those?
They are these incredibly strong chemical links between the keratin proteins in the hair shaft itself.
So wait, to change the shape of the lash from straight to curled, they have to physically break those bonds down.
They do. The perming solution actually acts as a reducing agent, breaking down that internal protein scaffolding. And once the hair is malleable, it is wrapped around a tiny, curved silicone shield.
I've seen pictures of those little shields glued to people's eyelids.
Yeah, they look a bit strange, but they are crucial because then a setting lotion is applied. And this acts as an oxidizing agent, effectively re-welding those disulfide bonds back together in their new curled position on the shield.
It's literally microscopic construction work. You are demolishing the protein structure and rebuilding it at a different angle.
Exactly. And it creates the optical illusion of much longer lashes because they are fanned upward, catching the light rather than pointing straight out and creating a shadow on the eye.
Okay, so that's the lift. And the tint just darkens that newly built structure.
Right. The tint is a specialized oxidative dye that saturates the newly lifted lashes. It specifically targets the lighter tips that normally fade into the skin tone. By darkening the entire length of the hair shaft, you completely eliminate the need for mascara.
Wow, so it is pure enhancement of your existing anatomy.
hmm Contrast that with eyelash extensions, which the Weddizer guide defines as the meticulous application of external fibers.
Typically synthetic polymers or silk or ethically sourced mink, right? Applied directly to your natural lashes.
Exactly. And obviously, they aren't using standard, drugstore eyelash glue for a multi-week application.
I would assume not. The adhesive chemistry has to be completely different to last that long.
It is. The adhesives used in professional extensions are usually cyanoacrylate based. This is a really fast-acting industrial adhesive that cures in the presence of moisture.
Wait, industrial adhesive near your eye, how do they do that safely?
Very carefully. The technician isolates a single natural eyelash using tweezers, dips the synthetic fiber into the cyanoacrylate, and bonds it directly to the natural hair shaft. But they keep it roughly a millimeter away from the actual skin of the eyelid to prevent irritation.
What's totally wild to me is the weight calculation that must go into that. If a natural lash is too fine, gluing a heavy piece of synthetic silk to it seems like it would just cause the natural hair to snap, or at least droop prematurely.
That is such a crucial point. Weight distribution is actually the true mark of a skilled lash technician. They have to assess the tensile strength of your natural lashes before choosing the fibers.
So they are doing real-time structural engineering on your face.
We really are. What's fascinating here is the sheer level of mathematical customization the technician brings to the table. The Weddizer source actually breaks down 3 distinct styles of extensions, all built strand by strand.
Okay, walk me through those.
You start with classic extensions, which is a strict 1-to-1 ratio, one synthetic fiber applied to one natural lash.
So if you have sparse lashes, naturally a classic set will just give you longer sparse lashes.
Precisely. It provides length and darkness, but the volume is completely limited by however many natural lashes you possess. So to overcome that biological limit, technicians utilize hybrid extensions.
I'm guessing that's a mix of different techniques.
Yeah, it involves strategically mixing the single classic lashes with volume fans to create texture and fill in any natural gaps.
And then there's the volume style, right? That sounds intense.
It is. Finally, you reach volume extensions. For this, the technician takes multiple, ultra-fine, incredibly lightweight synthetic fibers, fans them out, and attaches that entire cluster to a single natural lash.
Oh, wow. So that is what creates that super dense, dramatic blackout look at the lash line.
Exactly. So now that the physical mechanics and the chemistry are clear, we know we are either chemically rewelding the hair shaft or bonding polymers to it. The conversation naturally has to shift to the aesthetic strategy.
Right. Why choose one over the other for the actual event? The Weddizer source heavily emphasizes how these treatments perform on camera, which honestly brings up a major point of friction for me.
How so? The camera lens definitely changes the rules of engagement. I mean, wedding photography is a massive financial investment, and high-definition lenses capture absolutely every detail while simultaneously flattening the image.
Wait, that's exactly my issue. The source explicitly says that extensions look dramatic, they reduce the need for heavy eyeliner, and they make your eyes pop in close-up portraits.
They do.
If that is the factual reality of how cameras work, that they flatten images and require significant contrast to show definition, why would a bride ever risk looking washed out in her expensive wedding photos by just choosing a subtle lift? Doesn't relying solely on your natural lashes, even lifted ones, seem like a massive risk when you are competing with high-def photography?
Well, that assumes the goal of the photography is high-contrast glamour. The Weddizer guide tackles this exact pushback by explaining that aesthetic success depends entirely on the environmental context of the wedding itself.
Okay, break that down for me.
It draws a really sharp distinction between what they call the natural bride and the glamorous bride, and how lighting interacts with each.
Let's test that theory. Put the lash lift in context for the natural bride.
Imagine the natural bride is hosting a sun-drenched garden ceremony, or maybe a rustic outdoor event, or a beach wedding with highly diffused natural daylight.
Okay, very bright, very airy.
Right. In that bright, natural lighting environment, heavy volume extensions actually cast dark shadows over the sclera, the white part of the eye. They can look heavy, synthetic, and completely disjointed from a minimalist makeup look.
Oh, I see. The lighting angle makes perfect sense. A beach breeze hitting dense synthetic silk lashes might literally look stiff and out of place.
Exactly. For this bride, the lash lift in Tint is the ultimate strategic choice. The guide points out a growing movement toward highlighting authentic features. A lift opens the eye to catch the natural sunlight, enhancing the gaze without looking like a rigid awning over the eyelid.
An awning. That is exactly what bad extensions look like sometimes. But what about the glamorous bride?
For the glamorous bride, the lighting environment completely flips. If you are hosting a luxury ballroom reception, an evening wedding under dim chandeliers, or a flash-heavy red carpet-style party, a lash lift will completely disappear.
Because ambient evening light requires aggressive contrast.
Yes. For this aesthetic, extensions are the undeniable go-to. They provide the necessary structural density to stand up to heavy eyeshadow, contouring, and dramatic lighting. Your fear about looking washed out is really only a risk if the makeup and lighting don't match the lash choice.
That makes so much sense. Both treatments photograph beautifully, but they signal totally different aesthetic priorities.
They tell completely different visual stories.
I love how that frames the decision. But, sitting here theorizing about lighting environments and photo albums is the fun part. The reality of actually preparing for a massive event involves strict budgets, hypersensitive skin, and schedules that leave zero room for error.
Definitely. The logistics can be brutal.
We have to pivot from the fantasy of the photo shoot to the rigid biological reality of the timeline. And honestly, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the schedule outlined in the source is tied directly to the human body's natural hair growth cycle, which makes the planning shockingly complex.
Oh, absolutely. Human eyelashes naturally cycle through 3 phases. You have the anagen-active growth phase, the catagen transition phase, and the telogen resting and shedding phase.
So your lashes are constantly falling out and replacing themselves.
All the time. Because of that, your beauty timeline has to account for that biology.
Most people assume you just get your lashes done the morning of the wedding. You sit in the makeup chair, they do your lashes, they do your hair, you put on the dress. But according to Weddizer, you have to start this process weeks or even a month in advance.
Let's map out the logistics,
Yeah.
starting with the lash lift and tint. The source dictates this needs to be scheduled 1 to 2 weeks prior to the event.
Wait, 2 weeks before? Why so early?
Because of the chemical process we discussed earlier, the breaking and rewelding of the disulfide bonds can sometimes leave the lashes looking overly curled or rigid immediately after the appointment. Giving it a week or two allows the keratin to settle and the curl to relax into a softer, natural state.
And because it's your natural hair, the longevity is incredible. The guide notes it lasts 6 to 8 weeks.
The lift lasts until those specific lifted hairs naturally shed at the end of their telogen phase. As new straight lashes grow in to replace them, the overall effect slowly diminishes. But during those 6 to 8 weeks, there is zero daily maintenance, and they are inherently waterproof.
Now compare that biological timeline to the extensions. The schedule for extensions sounds like picking up a part-time job.
It really does. Extensions require intense, ongoing commitment. The Weddizer guide mandates scheduling a completely full set 2 to 3 weeks before the wedding.
But wait, if your natural lashes are constantly shedding and the synthetic fiber is glued to the natural lash, getting them done 3 weeks out means you'll have lost a huge percentage of them by the time you walk down the aisle.
That is the crucial catch. You will naturally shed up to 20% of your lashes every 2 weeks. That's why, in addition to the initial full set, you must book a mandatory fill appointment exactly 2 to 5 days before the ceremony.
Oh, wow. So you have to go back right before the wedding?
Yes. The technician has to go in, find the near-natural lashes that have grown in, and attach new extensions to bridge the gaps. This guarantees the lash line is lush and perfectly dense for the close-up shots.
So you are managing 2 separate, lengthy appointments during the single most chaotic month of event planning.
Exactly. And beyond just the time debt, the source brings up the physiological toll. Lifts are highlighted as significantly better for people with sensitive eyes.
Why is that? Is it the glue?
Yeah, when a technician applies extensions, that cyanoacrylate adhesive releases fumes as it cures. For people with ocular sensitivity or dry eyes, those fumes can cause redness and irritation.
Yeah.
Furthermore, constantly wearing synthetic weight on the lash follicle can be fatiguing.
That sounds exhausting for your eyelids. And with a lash lift, there are no artificial adhesives curing near the cornea and no foreign weight applied to the follicle.
Exactly.
Which also factors into the financial reality. A lift is a one-and-done expense for 2 months, whereas extensions demand paying for recurring fills every 2 to 3 weeks to maintain the architecture.
It adds up very quickly.
Okay, so you've navigated the biology, you've picked your style, whether it's the natural keratin blowout or the glamorous synthetic weave. You've booked your complex timeline. So what does this all mean when it comes to the day-to-day habits leading up to the ceremony? because accidentally destroying a $300 set of extensions the night before the event is a very real possibility.
Now, disaster prevention requires treating your face like a highly protected asset. The Weddizer guide lays out a strict blueprint, starting with a non-negotiable golden rule. You must do a trial run several months in advance. You never introduce new chemistry to your face for the first time the week of a major event.
That makes total sense. If you develop an allergic reaction to the oxidative dye in the tint or contact dermatitis from the extension adhesive, you really do not want to be dealing with a swollen eyelid while trying to take engagement photos.
A trial run exposes any biological incompatibilities early. Once you've safely verified the treatment, the guide issues a massive warning regarding products interactions, specifically waterproof cosmetics.
This circles right back to the scenario we started with. The waterproof mascara dissolving the glue. How does that actually happen?
Waterproof makeup and the biphase makeup removers required to take it off are heavily formulated with oils and lipid-based solvents.
And oil is bad for the glue.
Very bad. Those specific oils degrade the polymer chains and the cyanoacrylate adhesive used for extensions. If you use oil-based products near the eye, the bond weakens, and the extensions will literally slide off the natural lash.
That is horrifying.
The guide insists on strictly oil-free aftercare, which doesn't stop when the reception ends, by the way. It carries straight through the honeymoon.
That level of maintenance requires serious coordination. The source also points out the necessity of syncing your lash strategy with your makeup artist, too.
Oh, absolutely. If you arrive in the bridal suite with heavy volume extensions, but your makeup artist planned to apply a dramatic dark eyeliner and heavy strip lashes, the combined density is going to swallow your eyes entirely. The structural balance is just ruined.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the sheer cognitive load of modern event preparation.
It really does. We have spent this entire time unpacking the chemistry, lighting, and biology of one single millimeter of facial hair. Now multiply that complex decision matrix by the dress, the venue, the catering, the floral arrangements.
It's completely overwhelming.
This is the exact reason comprehensive resources like Weddizer exist. They synthesize the mechanics of these industries so people can make informed decisions without becoming overwhelmed by the micrologistics.
It takes the guesswork out of the aesthetic engineering, which brings us to the ultimate takeaway from today's source material. There is no objective winner in the battle of lift versus extension.
No, not at all.
It really comes down to a ruthless prioritization of your own needs. If your priority is a low-maintenance, biologically authentic aesthetic that frees you from a strict aftercare routine, the Lash Lift and Tint is the undeniable champion.
But if your goal is maximum structural volume, zero-effort daily glamour, and dominating a high-definition photograph, eyelash extensions are the architectural upgrade you need.
It is a fascinating spectrum of biological enhancement versus synthetic addition.
It really is. And this raises an important question, however. The source explicitly states that natural beauty trends are booming because they highlight our authentic, unaltered features. Yet, simultaneously, it praises extensions because they create a flawless, high-contrast illusion that conquers the camera lens.
That's a massive philosophical tension. Are we designing our faces for the human eye or for the camera?
It is a paradox that defines modern beauty. And it leaves us with something I think everyone listening should deeply consider, whether you are preparing for a massive life event or just doing your daily morning routine.
Yeah.
How much of our beauty planning is driven by how we organically want to feel in a physical space versus the intense, lingering pressure of how we will look as a flattened image in a digital archive? When future generations look back at our captured moments, will they value the high-definition perfection we achieved with synthetic polymers? Or will they wish they could see the raw, authentic biology we felt compelled to hide?
Wow, that is such a compelling thought to end on. Are we building the architecture of our faces for the experience of the room or for the permanent record of the lens? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this exploration helped decode the complex chemistry and logistics behind the beauty industry's most popular dilemma. Keep exploring the mechanics of the world around you. Keep questioning the trends and try to approach your next big event with a completely new perspective. Catch you next time.